And yes, we're gonna do that. And we acknowledge that the legacy of slavery in this area and the blood, sweat, and tears of the enslaved people that soaked the earth beneath our feet here in Omaha. This legacy persists today as we continue to work towards racial justice and equity in Omaha. So I'll turn it over to Claudia and Claire in just a second, but just a few reminders if you're new to our Lunch and Learns. If you're not speaking, we ask you to mute yourself, but we encourage you to speak and we encourage you to write in the chat if you have ideas and on this document we're about to share with you. You're also welcome to mute your camera if you're, enjoying your lunch or just don't feel camera ready today. That's okay. We understand. We just hope you still feel like you're welcome to participate. Some of you have seen the marketing materials that we're having a raffle. We'll do that towards the end of the session. Our colleague Kat, who's here with us today with the beautiful flowers behind her in her background, she'll be running that and she'll be putting in the names of folks towards the end of the session. And then we'll get your contact information from you and make sure that you get the card in the way that you need it, whether it's virtual or a plastic card will work with you. Everyone that's not a Creighton employee is eligible to be part of the raffle. And so I just want to say how grateful that the Highlander team is again able to work with Wellbeing partners. We have Claudia today, who's a youth, you're the food systems and built environment coordinator, and Claire, who's the youth wellness coordinator. We worked with them in December and we had a really great event about healthy eating. And so we loved learning new things about new topics from them, and they always come with something really interactive and fun. So thank you for taking the time to work with us today. Again, welcome everyone. If you have questions or technology issues, just put them in the chat and one of us will help you address them along the way. So thank you. So I'm turning it over to you guys.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Like Dr. Johnson said, my name is Claudia Granillo. I am the Food Systems and Built Environment Coordinator for the Wellbeing Partners, and then I'm going to let Claire introduce herself.
I'm Claire Brown. I'm the Youth Wellness Coordinator, and we're happy to be here today. Thanks for having us.
Yes, and today we're going to talk about the power of active transportation for families. So right now, Claire is going to drop a link in the chat. If you are on a computer and are able to, please click on that link. It will take you to the slides that you're seeing on your screen currently. And the purpose of this is so that we can have a very interactive meeting and Zoom session, because we're all tired of the Zooms, and I understand, and we're just trying to make this fun and interactive, and so that you feel like we're having a conversation just like any other day, except through the screen. So for those of you who are on the phone or maybe are on the Zoom app itself, feel free to unmute or drop things into the chat. We will be keeping an eye on it. Since this is kind of interactive, we can populate your comments or move little icons when it comes down to that. But if you could please join us to try out this technology on slides 2, 3, and 4. If you can type in your name and what your favorite thing about your neighborhood growing up was, that would be really great. It's just to keep in attendance, but also to get to know each other a little better. So if you could just click on the slide, put your name in. If you see that there is no room on slide 2, please feel free to jump down to slide 3 and 4. And this is just for us to get a little more acquainted with each other. Okay, I'm seeing lots of you typing into the slides. If you're having any trouble with the slides, please drop your name and your favorite childhood activity or your favorite thing about your neighborhood growing up in the chat, and we will make sure to get that populated. And if you don't know where the chat is, it is at the bottom of your screen. There is a little bar, or if you're on the phone, you have to swipe a couple of slides over and I think you can chat, or maybe it's at the bottom as well. I'm not quite sure because I don't have my app up. Okay, so I'm seeing Monica likes to the favorite things were their best friend that lived across the street. For Marion, it's the neighborhood friends at the park nearby and the park nearby. For Cindy, it's lots of kids to play with outside. For Dr. Johnson, it's lots of corner stores with candy. Yes, yes. Understand that as well. Uh, for Kathleen, it's walking. Oh, I'm gonna let you finish your thought before I read it out. um, okay, seeing lots of good conversation going on in the slides. Thank you for doing this. I know it's a little strange right now, but we promise this is going to be fun. Oh, Catherine, you're like riding bikes with your siblings. It's over on the chat. Yes, me too. I used to race with my brother. Um, I'm not usually a competitive person, but when it came to my brother, I'm a very competitive person. So I understand. Okay, feel free to finish wrapping up your introduction on these first 3 slides. But if you are done, please jump down to slide number 5 with me. I'm going to let you know a little bit about the organization that Clara and I work for. We work for the Wellbeing Partners. It's a nonprofit organization based out of Omaha. We're over at the University of Nebraska Community Engagement Center with a bunch of other nonprofits. And so our mission is to build well-being into the way communities grow and do business. The Wellbeing Partners believes in the human potential of every person and sees that a secret ingredient to the growth of our economy, competitive talent, and vibrant neighborhoods is equity and inclusion as we work to ensure all people and places thrive for this and future generations. Now we're going to jump down to slide 6, and I'm going to talk a little bit about our Safe Routes to School program and how we do active transportation around the city of Omaha. So a little bit of background information for Safe Routes to School. Safe Routes is a national program that focuses on active transportation to and from school. And then if you jump down to the next slide, the goal of Safe Routes is more active people in healthier neighborhoods. We actually began implementing this program in the Omaha area during 2018, and we continue to do so now, even through COVID. We even had a pilot program over at the Highlander called Safe Routes to Healthier Places during 2019. I know some of you were part of it. It was a really great program and it was super exciting, and we got to work with community members there at the Highlander. And it's really great to see the Highlander continue to grow and change, and it's very exciting. So because of these 2 programs, we work to ensure that everything is comprehensive, and so we utilize the 6 E's. The 6 E's are engagement, equity, engineering, encouragement, education, and evaluation. So the 6 E's summarize the key components of a comprehensive, integrated approach at each of our sites. And we do this to make sure that we are meeting the needs of everyone, and it's not just kind of like a one-sided, not listening to the community sort of thing. We really like to work with our community to ensure that all the programs that we are doing are inclusive and, meet the needs of the community. So if you jump down to slide number 8, we are going to summarize our goals for today. So for today, we want to reflect on our own experiences with active transportation, examine barriers that keep our families from walking, biking, or rolling to school, and explore the benefits of active transportation for our children, as well as strategize ways to make active transportation possible. And I know you're hearing a lot of me saying active transportation, and you're probably wondering what active transportation is. Well, active transportation is any form of human transportation. So human-powered transportation. That means biking, rolling, and by rolling, I mean like scooters and wheelchairs and skateboards, roller skates, and walking. That's what active transportation basically comes down to. And so with that, we're going to move down to slide number 9. And we're going to do breakout rooms. And I know some of you are probably very familiar with breakout rooms, but if you're not familiar with breakout rooms, it's basically like getting into a small group with each other and discussing a question that we have for you. And we have just a couple of instructions before we send you off. First, we want you, when you get into your breakout room, we want you to find the number of your breakout group. That should go up on the screen when we send you off into the breakout rooms, or it should be at the top of your screen in like a little tiny box. We want to ensure that you get to know each other, so please introduce yourselves and unmute. That way, you don't have to turn on your camera, but at least you get to know each other a little better. When you go into breakout rooms, you will see that each breakout room has its own slide. So that's slide, I believe, 10 through 13, and it's corresponding. So slide 1 or slide 10 goes to breakout room 1, slide 11 is breakout room 2, and so on and so forth. We just want you to have a conversation of how you got to school when you were a kid. And we gave you some more questions to like think about and have some thought about below the main question. So if you are on the phone or on the app, feel free to make sure to unmute or drop it into the chat when you're in your group. We just ask you to keep an eye on the chat if somebody is on the phone or somebody is on the app. Just keep an eye on the chat in your breakout room. And we're just going to ask you to jot down the highlights of your conversation, and then we're going to come back as a big group and share those out. Are there any questions for me before I send you off into breakout rooms? If there are, feel free to unmute or drop in the chat. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. I appreciate those. If at any point you need help, send it into the chat and we will come back, or we will come into your group. I also believe there's an ask for help button. So feel free to push that and one of us will jump into your group. We will give you a 2-minute warning so that you start wrapping up your thoughts, and I am going to send you off into breakouts. Any questions, drop it in the chat. We'll be there. Okay, here we go. And then feel free to click the button to join the breakout rooms.
Is it working for you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know I can never remember if co-hosts can put people like what they can do or if they need me to do something. Okay.
Yes.
No. Okay.
No, we're good. Thank you. Okay, what time is it, Claire? 12:14, 12:18. So I'll give a warning at 16. Yes, I sorted people into breakout rooms. I think I kept you both out of the breakout room and maybe Kat as well.
Yep, she's here with us.
Yes,
Yep.
Sorry, I changed it to speaker view only because that way I don't have to see people's faces when I talk.
Oh, you're good. I've never gotten to be on this side before.
Yeah, well, I have some, but
Welcome.
did we lose? She left. So one of the folks who was in earlier, Benaya, she had private messaged me and I had added her thing to the table. Did she not? I guess she must have left.
Oh,
That's too bad.
Maybe she'll rejoin.
Yeah.
never know
maybe
what's
we'll-
happened.
Yeah.
I liked the questions that you picked. They're fun to think about.
Yeah. Are we seeing any? Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to get people to talk.
Mm-hmm.
I feel really bad.
They're on the right slides though, so that's a good thing.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, it looks like it.
Okay, good.
Do
Almost
they
forgot.
know-
Yeah, go ahead.
Do they know which group they're in?
They should. Yeah, it's
Okay.
at the top of their there's a little bar at the top that
Okay.
should tell you what group you're in. And when you click to join, it says like room 1, room 2, room 3.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I always worry that people don't look at
Yeah,
this.
same.
Yeah.
Same. That's why I was like, maybe if you look at the top.
Because we're doing a workshop, me and my mentor and some other folks are doing a workshop for CDC today. And it's always like a zillion people. And you just never know if everybody's been paying attention or their dog is barking when you said, hey, the room is at the top. So I'm always worried, like, is anybody ready?
I know, I worry about that too. I'm gonna put a note on the slides.
Yeah, there you go.
And sometimes it's just that people are talking. They don't think to write it on the thing.
Which is
good.
fair.
Because I've had that happen where people were like, oh, someone was supposed to be taking notes. And it's like, yeah, we said that, but yeah. So
yeah.
but yeah, Claudia, send me a message. Like, so separate from my identity as a Creighton person, I also have an LLC where I do program evaluation. So I can do it either way, either as Creighton, you know.
It's up to you. I did send the 2-minute warning, Claire, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. I would feel comfortable with you being our person, but if you have a student, that really needs a capstone, we would also be comfortable with that. We're just kind of shopping around the idea of it.
So yeah, so we could just do an informal kind of combo, and you can kind of tell me what you're thinking, and I can tell you what ideas I have, and then if I'm the right fit, that's great. If not, I mean, yeah, and it's a mixed bag with our students in terms of their experience with evaluation. And that's not a diss to them. It's just like, I don't know what your timeline is. So if it's something that like needs to happen like fast, then I would be selective about who.
It's like a year. Yeah, it's like a year-long project, but it has a pre and a post. So we can talk about it. I'm gonna bring people back.
Yeah, I'll be back around.
Yes. Okay. Here we go. But yeah, we'll talk about it. Thank you.
Yeah, I specialize in culturally responsive evaluation, and participatory evaluation, and artsy stuff. So those are my sections. Yes.
Okay.
Right now, I'm doing something with University of Oregon where we have like jam boards and stuff, and we're having people write in their ideas about schools. So it's like a teacher program, and we're doing videos with people asking them about like their experiences, so they feel more engaged. Because not everybody likes doing surveys, so
and that's what we found out the hard.
Yes, so I would when we talk, I would strongly encourage you not to rely on those as your only data.
Yes,
so you're just not going to get what you need.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. People should start popping back into the room here soon. In 5, 4. There we go. Okay, I see that people are coming back into the room. Welcome back. I believe I see most of you should be back. Yes. Okay, awesome. So maybe if we could have a volunteer to talk about what you discussed in your breakout room, feel free to unmute and let us know what you talked about. Yeah. Anyone
we
that will?
talked about like how we got to school as kids, going places, either walking or taking the bus, what seemed like big trips if you're from Omaha, taking the bus downtown or to Peony Park. So and that is not a common experience for people in Omaha today.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Kathleen. Appreciate that. And I know that there are some comments in the slides, maybe. Yeah. You guys talked about, I can't read that, but I know that group 2 is dropping in some comments. Walked and biked, how you walk to school. So those are all really good. Thank you for sharing. Okay, feel free to keep adding to the slide, but the group, we're going to move down to slide 14. So if you can join me down to slide 14, you're gonna see a different screen. We have some icons on the side of the slide. And what we're going to ask you to do is vote. So if you don't see the icons, there's a bar at the bottom that you can move back and forth so that you can see more of the screen. But what we're going to ask you to do is vote. And so our question is, how do you think most children get to school today? Walking, for those on the phone or on the app that they can't see it, walking, rolling, and then in parentheses, bike, skateboard, scooter, wheelchair, bus, or car. And I will reveal the answer soon. But yes, feel free to move those icons. I am seeing a lot of icons. If you can't move them, let us know in the chat and we will move the icon for you. But yeah, feel free to move all those icons. I think I'm seeing people slow down with the icon moving. Okay, I see a majority of you think cars. Okay, and some of you think buses. Yes, and some walking and some biking. From April. Most kids I know get to school by bus or by car. Thank you, April. Claire, could you move an icon there? Thank you.
Yep, I got you in there.
Thank you. Okay, so I see a majority goes with bus or car. Okay, so if you can jump down to our next slide. Our next question is, what percentage of kids do you think use active transportation to get to school today? And active transportation again is walking, biking, or rolling. So feel free to move the icon into the appropriate percentage that you think most kids get to school today. And for those of you who might be on the phone, it's 10%, 20%, 30%, and 40%. So feel free to unmute or drop in chat if you can't move the icon. And we're just letting you all move the icons. I'm seeing some people think 20%. April is saying 20%. Thank you, Claire, or whoever moved that icon over to 20. Appreciate that. Okay.
Kat saying 30%.
30%. Thank you, Kat. Okay. All right. So I'm seeing the majority of you. 20 to 30% is what you believe kids use active transportation today. Okay, if we could jump down to slide number 16. I am about to reveal the answer. I know there's a big, large blue box, but here we go. According to the CDC, on an average school day in most schools, so 61.5% of schools, 10% or fewer students walked or biked to school. And if you can see below, in 1969, nearly 50% of students walked or biked to school, used active transportation to get to and from school. Then according to a study done in 2012, for children who lived within 1 mile, 1 mile from school, the most common mode of travel to school was by passenger vehicle, followed by school bus, and then walking or bicycling. And then for children who lived within 1 mile of the school, the most common mode of travel home from school was by passenger vehicle, followed by walking or bicycling, and school bus. And you can see the study at the bottom. We have sources at the end of our presentation where you can click and look at the study and look at the percentages from the CDC as well. But we know that there are many barriers to active transportation in our neighborhoods. And so if you join me on slide 17, we're going to talk a little bit more about the area, the Douglas County area. So as you can see, this is a chart. This chart is from the Community Health Needs Assessment study that Douglas County, Potawatomi County, and Sarpy-Cass County do every 3 years. And basically they survey the community to learn more about the health needs and the barriers that our community faces. And I know that this graph isn't super clear, like you can't really see it very well, so I apologize. We pulled it straight from the report. But what we can see in the following chart is that a lack of sidewalks or poor sidewalks received the largest share of responses among community members. It was mentioned 16% of the time, or it was 16% of the time, followed by lack of trails or trails in poor condition, heavy traffic, lack of street lights or non-working street lights, and crime. So those are the barriers that a lot of community members reported back in 2018. And as you can see, there's different percentages for each of the Douglas County areas, and feel free to zoom in and look at it a little closer. So we also did an assessment with our own schools. So as I mentioned before, with our Safe Routes to School program, we worked with schools around the Omaha area for Omaha Public Schools. And if you jump down to slide 18, you can see the percentage or the number of people that we interviewed said that during our work with 4 OPS schools in 2019 and 2020, when we surveyed the parents about barriers that their families face with active transportation, you can see that the speed of traffic followed by distance and weather were the barriers that were most commonly cited by parents as the top barriers. With the decrease of walking, rolling, and biking from children, like with the decrease of children not walking, rolling, and biking to school, The priorities of cities around the US and here in the city of Omaha shifted our infrastructure investments to prioritize cars and traffic reduction. However, within the Highlander neighborhood, for those of you who live within the Highlander neighborhood and throughout the city of Omaha, there are a couple of projects that are working on improving the mobility of the neighborhood. And you should start to see some of those changes come soon in the next couple of years. But I know along North 30th Street, they did a road diet, which means they reduced the number of what are those called? Lanes, and introduced a median lane so that it's a traffic calming device, and they installed bike lanes and also parking on the street to keep people on the sidewalk safe, because we know that those barriers, not barriers, but like natural barriers, keep people safe when they're walking on the sidewalks, and they made the sidewalks longer or wider. And so you're going to start to see those kinds of projects around the Omaha Metro. We are pushing for a more active city, a more friendly pedestrian bicyclist city. And so you'll see that more often. And so now that I talked a little bit about barriers and to active transportations that we have seen as an organization and that the community has reported, we want to know what your barriers are. So if you join me down in slide number 19, I believe, yes, thank you, Claire. We have another voting slide. So with the little icons, we're gonna ask you, which barriers are keeping your family from walking, biking, and rolling to school? And for this one, I want you to make sure that you look at both slides 19 and 20, because there are a number of different barriers. So I'm going to read them off to you if you can't see them, and feel free to drop it in the chat with your answers. So the first one is lack of sidewalks/trails, traffic, poor lighting, crime, and then in slide 20, the barriers are lack of time, weather, lack of supervision, and then we have an other category. So if you don't see the barrier that your family faces in any of these barriers, please feel free to click on the sticky note on the side and type in your answer, and then move it to the other. Or if you didn't hear a barrier and you would like to add a barrier into the other category, please drop it in the chat and we'll make sure that we get that into the correct slide. So also, if you see that we're running out of icons, feel free to copy and paste. I forgot to say that last time, but if you don't see the icon that you need, feel free to copy and paste. I see some of you typing into the sticky notes. Thank you. I'm trying to zoom in really quickly to read those out. April said distance and schedule. Yes. That is an important one. Okay. The fear of human trafficking, distance and habit, no separate bike lane, traffic. Yeah, I'm seeing lots of good responses. I'm seeing lots of you have moved some of the little icons into traffic, inside lack of sidewalks and trails, some into poor lighting, some weather, lack of time, lack of supervision. Yeah, these are all concerns that a lot of parents shared when we talked to them about barriers to walking, biking, and rolling to school. Yeah, so these are very, very common barriers. And feel free to continue to drop in ideas as we go on into the stickies. If you think of something else, please feel free to do that. Now that we've talked about barriers, we do want to talk about the benefits of active transportation and just physical activity overall. So I'm going to turn it over to Claire so that she can tell us a little bit more about the benefits. And yeah, please join us down in slide number 21, because I forgot to say that. And Claire, take it away.
All right, thanks, Claudia. So yeah, like Claudia said, we are going to come back to the barriers, and we're really going to strategize how we can accommodate for these things and how we can make active transportation a little easier for all of us. But before we do that, we want to dive into why. And why do we want to make this a priority for our families? What's the benefit of active transportation? So like we said at the beginning of the presentation, my name is Claire Brown, and I'm the Youth Wellness Coordinator for the Wellbeing Partners. My background is in education, And I get to spend a lot of time learning about how kids learn and helping advocate for healthy spaces for them in which to learn, including the home and the school and all the community organizations that support our children. So my time with you today is really just talking about what does active transportation and physical activity do to a child's well-being. And first off, I want to talk about how it changes their learning. That's very important to all of us. We want our kids to go to school and learn and be successful. And we know that physical activity is one great way to help them be the best learner that they can be. The image that you're looking at here is from a study done a few years ago, where children were asked in 2 different groups. And one group was asked to take a test after sitting quietly for 20 minutes, having a little bit of a rest time. And one group was taking a test after 20 minutes of walking, just walking, very mild physical activity. And you can see the differences in their brains and the different brain activity levels that we're seeing here. And this is one of many, many, many studies that has shown us that a little bit of physical activity does a whole lot to the brain, and it wakes the brain up for learning, and it helps kids be successful in their learning and their behavior and their whole classroom time. And active transportation and that walk to school, that bike to school, whatever that might be for your family, provides a great opportunity for kids to start their day with physical activity, arrive at school fresh, awake for learning, and ready to engage with their teachers. So this is one of the biggest reasons that we care about active transportation to school, is that it provides children the opportunity to come to school ready to learn. Next, on slide number 21, if you want to jump down with me, we'll talk about some other benefits to active transportation, but we also want to caveat that with, because of the barriers, because of where we might live, because of Nebraska weather, that's my biggest barrier, and I haven't figured out how to change that. Sometimes we just can't actively go to school, and that's okay. Sometimes we have to ride in a bus, drive in the car, whatever it might be. But there are other ways that we can kind of emulate these benefits that we're talking about. Other ways that we can provide physical activity in the morning for our children and the children in our care, so that they're able to go to school with their brains active and awake. So yes, we're talking about active transportation today, but also consider other ways that we can provide physical activity to kind of replicate the same benefits. So with that said, one of the biggest benefits for active transportation to school is that special relational time that it provides. If you drive your child to school in the morning, you might have 3 or 5 minutes in the car with them. There might be the radio on, there might be lots of other distractions. And that can still be valuable time. But when we are walking or biking with our children to school, we can have a lot more direct relational time together, good conversations. There are fewer distractions as we are walking or biking that allow us to really connect. And that might be parent to child or parent to caregiver. It might be 2 children together, 2 friends that get to have some special friend time as they walk to school, or a sibling group as they walk to school. And being able to start the day with some warm conversation is very beneficial to children and their mental health. Next, continuing with mental health, we know that exposure to early morning sunlight is amazing for both adults and children, and that starting the day with movement is huge for mental health as well. We also know that walking or biking to school almost always means that screens are put away. We're away from the TV. We're hopefully not looking at our phones as we're walking or biking. And this time and space away from technology is very valuable to kids as well. A recent study that we have down in the sources for you, if you want to look it up, found that most children spend less than 7 minutes a day in unstructured play, which as a early childhood professional is like scary to me, but that's what the study found. So 7 minutes a day, unstructured play, and 7 hours a day in front of a screen. So any opportunity that we have to have some time away from screens and some time for movement and play is very beneficial and worth the extra effort to allow for our children. And then finally, the physical activity benefits are obvious. Obviously, if we're actively transporting to school, we have some physical activity time, and that's so very valuable for our kids as well. The CDC has said that most children need at least 60 minutes a day of physical activity. And that's most children, because a lot of children actually need more than that. And some need quite a bit more than that. Whenever I say that, families are often thinking about one specific child in your life who you know needs to be a lot more active than just 60 minutes a day, because some children really do need lots more opportunities to move their bodies. But the CDC says at least 60 minutes for most children. So that leads us into slide 23 with another poll question for you. What percentage of children in the United States do you think get that recommended amount of 60 minutes a day of physical activity? Our choices here are 25%, 50%, 75, or 90. You can move an icon, unmute, or put it in the chat. Seeing lots of 25, one vote for 50. April's got 25. I got you, April. All right, well, we have a smart group here today because the answer is 25%. And hopefully that's as horrifying to us as a group as it is to me personally, because that 60 minutes a day is a really, really low bar. That's really not a lot of physical activity. And for only 25% of our children to be getting that 60 minutes a day means that we have a whole lot of children getting very little to no physical activity during their day. So how does that happen? First of all, we know that kids go to school and they go to recess, and we love recess. Recess is so valuable, but they often have a very short amount of time for recess. And then that time is cut up by having to get coats on and go outside. And the time it takes, it took me forever to get my 17 preschoolers into their coats to go outside. And that's time that we're missing from our recess. It's time taken away when teachers remove recess for behavior problems, which is a different conversation and another problem. But if children are missing out on their recess time due to their behavior, that's another opportunity that's lost to physical activity. We know that they go to PE class when they're in school, and that's wonderful. PE class is valuable. In OPS, we offer 50 minutes of PE a week. So that's one day a week that we're probably going to get our 60 minutes of physical activity. But what about the other 6 days in the week? We've got some children who have access to after school sports and activities, and that's great, but not every child in our community has access to that. Some children have access to playing in their backyards or in their apartment complex, and that's great, but not every child in our community has access to that. And then we compound that by the Nebraska weather and the many other barriers. And we have a lot of issues in getting our physical activity here in Nebraska. So being able to prioritize active transportation is one really good way where we can make those 60 minutes a priority for our families and help ensure that our children are getting that time. So jumping now down to slide number 24, we're going to do our final breakout session before we share some strategies. And we really just want to have some time to brainstorm within our groups. What would it take for your family to be able to use active transportation or some other form of physical activity in your day? We invite you to dream big here, whether that's you need an overpass from this street to that street so that your kids don't have to cross traffic, or whether that's you need an igloo dome over Omaha so that we have temperate weather all year long. Put your big dreams in there, and we'll really consider how we can make this happen. And then we'll share some strategies to help you figure out how to go from the dreams to the realities. And we don't have any leads on an igloo, so sorry to break that news to you. Whenever we're ready, Claudia, we can send us back to breakout rooms. Again, you'll find your number, match it to your slide, and do go ahead and type as you're discussing. That helps us kind of monitor how the discussions are going and how much more time might be needed or not needed. So as you're in your groups, go ahead and type onto those slides for us.
Yay.
I had to send Kat off into a group this time. I feel
Yeah,
really
because
bad.
I think because we lost at least one person.
Yes, we lost one person in the transition, but it's okay. It's a pretty engaging group, which I appreciate.
Yeah. I mean, I think I know when I had talked to Kasha when I had sent the flyer to her, she was asking me like, who should it be? And I was like, it could be anybody, you know, and it's
Yes.
I think sometimes one of the things I think we need to work on, not you guys, but Highlander,
Sorry.
is I think people get freaked out and intimidated sometimes by the flyers, you know, like I think maybe we have too much information on them. And I think maybe it's not for them, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder, because I wondered about, Kasha's reaction when she saw this one. She's like, well, who can come? And I was like, well, anybody. I always say that in an email, like, it's everybody. But I don't know if someone who doesn't have that benefit of seeing the email and just sees the flyer, like,
She emailed me last week and was like, so what are you guys doing at the presentation? So I downloaded our slides, which were not, I made sure that she knew that they weren't finished yet, but I downloaded the slides and sent it off to her, and I was like, we're just, trying to get some information out to families, and it's going to be interactive. So I think that might have helped. She also emailed about something else, not specifically about this conversation. It was about a map that we've made for Howard Kennedy. And she was just asking questions about it. And then she asked about this. So I just sent her some information. And I was
nobody
like, anyone.
in room 2 is typing. Come on, y'all. Because whatever group 1 is, they're just going to
Yeah,
town.
they're going
It's
good.
Cat.
Cat. It's
Cat's
Cat.
doing it, yes.
Claire, do you want to send a message on the
Yep.
chat and be like, please make
Oh.
sure that you record your thoughts?
I was gonna stick it on their slide, but if they're not looking at it, nobody's even in there. Okay.
I know.
No, they're in there. There's someone on 26. Oh, it's you.
Is it me?
Yeah, and I'm on there now, but
Okay.
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, we started at 12:41 and it's now 12:43. What time do you want to bring them back, and when do you want me to give them the 2-minute warning?
We had said 7 minutes, but if they're not typing, I'm not sure they need 7 minutes.
Yeah. So let me know and we can just give them a 1-minute warning. Typey type type.
I know. And I think we have to do, I think next time maybe got to make it a competition. I know.
Who can get the most thoughts on the paper?
Yeah.
Who has the best idea?
Oh, maybe I should, since I know most of these people.
Yeah, breakout group 1's got some good stuff. Claudia, are you looking at this?
I can see it, but I have a share split screen, so I can only see really tiny.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'll read some out. They've got some good stuff in there.
Remove the long distance. Sunshine all year long would be a good one.
Yeah, I'll take that one.
I just sent a broadcast message with the competition in there now.
Cool.
Say, group 1's doing great. Where happened the rest of you bums?
You two, you get it together.
It's okay. We'll just use group 1's example if no one else wants to type.
Yeah, because group 2's got Cindy, and I feel like I don't know Kathleen. She hasn't been to very many, but I think Marion has come before. Group 3 has Rebecca, who has come before, and
I
Monica.
think let's give that warning, Claudia.
Okay, 1 minute. 1 minute warning. Ooh. We'll see. Did the thing. Okay. And then I'll close the rooms at 12:47, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And then I'll make sure that I keep my strategy short instead of going on my long
Well,
rants.
the strategy stuff is good though, so I want to make sure we have time for that.
I go on my long rants.
Yes, but remember, we still have to do a raffle. So you have to give me a minute or two.
See?
We'll have the
Got it.
raffle.
See?
We won't
Got it.
forget.
Yes. People get excited about those kinds of things. Even if
Yes. I would be excited too, except I'm not available to get that prize. Also,
Yeah.
the bike network is done, Claire. It's
Oh, that's
done.
exciting.
It's done. I'm happy. Dr.
Congratulations.
Johnson, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Signage for the bike network. You know how they put in those bike lanes? It's done. We were in charge of
Yay.
signage. It's been a 10-year project for the organization, and
Oh my
now it's
gosh.
done. It's done.
We need to have a celebration for that.
I literally almost cried when Kevin Carter told me, and I quote, It's up. It's done. Okay, I'm bringing them back.
I just closed them, sorry.
Oh, no, it's good.
I wish there was a way to like bring them right away and not, although I guess it's kind of rude to their
I know.
conversations.
Yeah, people get
Fuck.
upset if they feel like they've been yanked too hard.
Yeah.
I've learned
I
that.
wouldn't
They're
like that
"Wait,
either.
I was in the middle of a sentence. So yeah. You have to put the balance.
I just make sure that they know. Oh,
Welcome back as you're coming back in. Hopefully you all had some good conversations. I'll give everybody else a minute or two, and then I guess a minute, and then we'll jump back in.
Hey, since we only have 4 people in the raffle, I'll just do the spin wheel thing myself and I'll submit it in the chat, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back as we get our last few in the room. Looks like we had some good conversation in breakout room 1. I love these ideas. Somebody said start school at a later time. So there's more time for kids to sleep and then walk. That's an excellent idea. Remove time constrictions for parents regarding work start time. I think that's hopefully a direction that we're headed in, and recovering from COVID and realizing how valuable that flexibility and family time is. Sunshine all year long is my goal in life. On breakout room 2, I'm seeing senior volunteers to walk kids to school. That's an awesome idea. What a great way to utilize the community. Parks and Rec to offer support. If anyone would like to unmute and share any additional ideas, you're more than welcome to do so. Got protected bike lanes on room 3. All right, well,
Well,
so
group
fun
two,
to see. Oh, go right ahead.
well, I was gonna say group 2, we all are older with no kids, but we said, you know, it's a great senior volunteer activity in your neighborhood to be able to walk kids to school. But so many of us don't have a connection to our grade school. So really having a program that would do a reach out and offer that, or some way that you get connected, would be important. And then we also talked about how when we were growing up, we had park and rec activities in parks throughout Omaha. And they often did these fabulous park shows and activities and things that you could just stop by and do. But you don't see that anymore either. Just the funding probably is not there.
Yeah.
Kind of like almost like, you know, what the library they do now with COVID, they're doing arts and craft, like grab and go. So they put things together for kids to come. But, you know, like thinking of during the summer, if kids need to have some eyes on them to make sure that they're okay and stay engaged. But
yes, absolutely. All right, well, if anyone else wants to share, please continue to feel free to. Otherwise, I'll hand it off to Claudia and we'll jump down to slide number 29.
Well, thank you, everybody. And now I'm just going to cover some quick strategies that you can do as a parent or a grandparent or a neighbor that I think are some good ideas. And some of you have already started to touch on this, and I'm just going to expand on it. So one of the ideas is a walking school bus. And for those of you who may have heard of it or haven't have heard of it, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a walking school bus. So you do stops at each of the kids' houses, and an adult walks the kids to and from school. This is something that you can do as a neighbor or as a family member, and it's something that you can do consistently, or you can maybe work together with your neighbors to take turns depending on somebody's schedule to see who can do the morning walk or the afternoon walk with the kids. And it's been very successful in different parts of the country. I did drop a link in our sources that will take you to the National Safe Routes website, and it does link you to how to start your own school walking school bus. This is also an idea that our organization trialed back in 2018, where they met at a location and then they all walked to school together, and it was something that the kids really like to do. It got them outside, it got them moving, and they got them a little bit of outside time before school. So that was something that was really cool, and something that is totally capable of doing as as a neighbor, as a friend, as a family member. And it's a way to connect our community if it's something that is in your neighborhood. A variation of the walking school bus is a bicycle train in which adults supervise children riding their bikes to and from school. The adult usually follows behind the kids walking, not on a bike, walking to make sure that the kids are following all of the rules of the traffic, because we know that the little ones are probably not well versed on riding their bike to and from school. And, that's a little dangerous, but with an adult, I feel like people are more comfortable doing that. We haven't trialed this out yet, but it's something that is really interesting, and some cities that are more pedestrian and bike friendly do so. So that's something that's really exciting, and I hope to see in the future in our neighborhoods. Another thing that you can do is reaching out to city officials. I know it sounds really cliche, but the city does really want to hear from you. We learned this through our Highlander project back in 2019. City officials, and if you're familiar with the Highlander or live at the Highlander, there are true crosswalks that were unpainted before. And we got a group of neighbors at that time, and we gathered them, and then the city came to all of the meetings. City officials came to all of the meetings, came to go with us on like a surveying of the neighborhood, and determined that they would paint the crosswalk ahead of time, and allowed Highlanders to 75 North and us to purchase some signs in order to be able to clearly point them out to drivers that there were crosswalks there, because we know that 30th Street is a speeding avenue. And so that was one of the things that they did. They also lengthened the street light time crossing at 30th and Lake by a second. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it really does help for people that have mobility issues and maybe need a little longer crossing time. Additionally, they also fixed the school flashing signs at Howard Kennedy because they were not flashing at the correct time. And so drivers probably didn't know when school time started and when school time ended, and weren't following the posted speed limit, school speed limit at that time. And so I know it sounds really cliche. I know that sometimes bureaucracy gets in the way. And so reaching out to city officials is really important. And lastly, crossing guards. We know that some schools have them. We know that some schools don't. If you are a grandparent or a parent and your school does not have them, reach out to the principal and see if they can help you get a group of adults organized to do crossing guards in the morning and in the afternoon. We know that is a really important thing to do. As the last sort of thing, there are some action steps on our next slide 25 through 28. And if you have like any thoughts about this presentation, like what stood out to you for you today, and what action you think you can take to make your family more active and use active transportation, please drop them in the little slides. As a reminder, we are able to talk to you and you are able to reach out to us. Claire and I do have our emails on slide 32, I believe. Yes. And feel free to send us an email if you have any questions. All of our sources are at the bottom of this presentation. We are short on time, so I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. The winner of the raffle is Kathleen. Is Kathleen still on? Yeah, Kathleen Jackson, you are the winner of the raffle. Please drop your email in the chat and we can get you a digital gift card for you. And I'll make sure that goes to you. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to come and do this today. We know that a lot of Zooms, people are exhausted from the Zooms. And thank you so much. I appreciate you. Feel free to reach out. Dr. Johnson, thank you for your time and thank you for having us. And the slides will stay open if you want to look them over afterwards.
And I just as we started, I want to end with gratitude for everybody taking the time to spend with us. The Wellbeing partners for hooking us up with a gift card and lots of information. Kathleen, thank you. Okay, thank you for sharing your information. We are recording as I mentioned earlier. So in about a week, if you look on the Creighton at a Highlander Facebook page, we'll have the link to the recording if you're interested in going back. And again, Claudia said, the slides will be open. So I'm going to send you an email a little later today with a survey with feedback about this session, and I'll put the link to the slides in there as well. So you can go back to them if you want to and sort of add things or you learn from everything that we have there. So thank you all for being here with us today. Thanks for taking the time. Congratulations to Kathleen. And yeah, and so if you have a little stress in your life and you'd like to do some meditation with us, we have a virtual meditation on Friday at lunchtime. If you go to our Creighton University at Highlander website, and I'll put that in the email when I send you the link for the survey, you can join us there. It's open to everyone. So yeah. Yay. So I'll stop recording.